Welcome back to phase two of If I Had the Power to Time Travel, take over the Marvel Industries to avoid a bankruptcy for Marvel back in 1996. How would I remake the MCU?
This is Sean Holmes' channel, and today's discussion is about his suggested sequel to Blade's first movie. Sean's suggested sequel, opposite to the real version, is subtitled Trust Building. Unlike the real Blade 2 movie, which was largely about distrusting others and the Reaper vampire strain, Sean's Blade 2 suggestion is about Michael Morbius and trusting others, which he thinks is the better story. Today's Blade 2 discussion will be about Blade vs. Morbius, Union Jack's compound, shocking discoveries, fair play, dilemmas, Hydra, hunger leading attacks against Jack, S.H.I.E.L.D., Red Skull's castle, mistakes, life changes, a new Blade in the final act. But first, we'll discuss Blade vs. Morbius. This movie begins at night, as Blade stands on the roof of a warehouse chatting with his mentor and partner, Whistler, over an ear communication device. Blade is following and stalking a blood hunter and plasma consumer named Michael Morbius. As Whistler tells Blade to wait for backup, because their target isn't acting like a normal vampire, Blade shuts off his communication device as Michael Morbius flies past him. Blade attempts to ground Michael Morbius with hand explosives and knockout gases, thereby forcing him to the ground, and it works. Blade moves closer to Michael to capture him with a net, but Michael Morbius breaks through the net and pins him down, while Blade is pinned down on the ground and Michael Morbius is moving in for a net kill. Both characters are electrocuted by a stun weapon. The shock reverts Michael Morbius to his human form, as he and Blade look up to see who shocked them. Using a stronger net than the one Blade used on Michael Morbius, the UK's neighborhood hero Union Jack bags both Michael and Blade, throws them into his truck, and drives them away. While being driven to Union Jack's secret compound, Michael Morbius tells Blade to hand him his knife if he wants to be freed, but he ignores him because he doesn't trust him. As they arrive at Jack's base, Jack places both Blade and Michael Morbius in separate prison cells. Moments later, Union Jack questions both Michael Morbius and Blade to find out who they are. Michael Morbius replies to Union Jack by saying scientist and doctor. Blade says nothing to Jack because he doesn't trust him. To work out a theory he has, Union Jack starts opening the blinds. As the sunlight hits Michael Morbius' skin, he doesn't flinch or burn, which wasn't what Union Jack was expecting. But as Blade gets hit with sunlight, his skin starts to burn, which surprises Union Jack. After Union Jack closes the blinds on Michael's and Blade's cell, he realizes his first assumption about both of them was incorrect. Union Jack knows about vampires and isn't surprised to see him burnt when his skin makes contact with sunlight, but he has no idea what Michael is. Jack knows about vampires, but he's having trouble classifying Morbius. While Jack contemplates his next move, his compound security is breached. Whistler raids Union Jack's compound by following a tracking device he placed on Blade years ago for emergency situations. As Whistler continues to breach Union Jack's compound, he finds his late-night secretary and takes her hostage. When Whistler finally confronts Jack, he bargains with him for Blade's freedom. Confused, Jack says to Whistler, "He's a vampire," as Whistler has his secretary in his custody. Whistler replies to Jack, "No, Blade is a dampier," as he struggles to grip the secretary in his arms. Given that Jack has done research on vampires to know what a damper is, he releases Blade and Whistler releases his secretary. But Michael Morbius remains in lockup. Whistler explains to Union Jack that he and Blade are vampire hunters, and they were targeting Michael Morbius because of news reports about random people being drained for blood by a flying vampire. Union Jack replies, "So was I," as Blade turns his face, distrusting his skills. Blade says to Jack, "Dude, I don't trust you." While turning to Jack, Jack turns from Whistler to Blade, saying to him, "I captured your sorry ass," instigating another confrontation. Whistler steps in between the angered Jack and Blade. Whistler turns to Blade and says, "Sometimes you have to evaluate your situation and trust others," and he walks away. Jack replies, "I agree with you, Whistler," as his base is assaulted. Jack's compound is assaulted by Hydra military agents. As a result, the lights of Jack's base go out, causing the backup generators to activate his emergency base lights. Blade comes back to witness his mentor get shot by Hydra agents. Jack fires back, killing some agents, then tosses a gun to Blade. Blade yells to Jack, "What the hell is going on here?" Moments later, a ship blows a hole in Michael Morbius's imprisoned location, and it flies the entire prison out of that compound with him in it. Meanwhile, moments later, a SHIELD helicarrier hovers over Jack's compound to help him.